Latios, the Palisades Neighborhood Association Chair. And I would like to introduce you to Park Academy, and she would like to give you a few words, and we're super grateful that we can use this place and the screen and everything else. So please give her a warm hand of applause. Thank you. The turnout for this just goes to show why we are actually grateful to be able to host you all this evening and be a part of this neighborhood. We started out in 2005 over on the Merrillhurst campus in modular trailers with about 20 kids, and we were very, very grateful for that. But we moved into this building, which was, for those of you who haven't lived in the neighborhood long, this is an old armory building, and we refurbished it for our school of now 100 students in grades primarily 3 through 8. And our sole mission is to help students with dyslexia and other learning challenges. So they come to school every day. It's a very typical independent school, but one of our program gold standards. I feel like I just feel like okay. I feel like I'm making a lot of hard T's and P's when I talk. Our kids get a reading intervention class every single day. And so we're here to help them with their reading skills so that they can then in the 8th grade transfer back to their home community school or another independent school. And while they're here, they not only get the reading and the writing and the math and all of those things, they're also getting our full arts program. So a lot of times I'll hear from neighbors, oh, I drive by every day. I had no idea that you're even down there or what's down there. So now you know. And if you live on the other side of our field, thank you for understanding that our children are children, and when they play games, they're loud. Just a couple quick things, because I know you have business to attend to, that I also wanted to take the opportunity to share with you, is that a third of our kids live here in Lake Oswego, so we are a part of the community. It's not just being housed here. But if you look at the map out there, you'll see that our kids come from far and near to be able to attend school here. We've also opened 2 new community-based programs that we're really excited about. This building will only ever hold 100 kiddos. The way that we serve students, we can't just increase our classroom sizes. And so we are now offering after-school tutoring. And then we have a really robust summer camp this year for 1st through 6th graders, and there's still openings in 1st and 2nd grade for that camp in the month of July. And then lastly, because my 5 minutes is almost up, my role, which I never told you, is the development director, which means I do the fundraising. So my board chair would be very angry at me if I didn't plug our 2 events. So bear with me. We have a golf tournament. It's in September. The Oswego Lake Country Club does 3 charity club or tournaments a year, and this is the 2nd time their board has allowed us to come and use their amazing facility with our donors. So if you like to golf, these will be up front. There's a QR code. We all know how to use those these days. And secondly, we bring someone who is a successful adult who struggled with their dyslexia to our annual auction. We've traditionally had that here on our basketball court, but it's the 9th year and we wanted to change things up, so we've moved over to the MAC Club, which we're very excited about. But this year we're bringing Lindsay Wagner. If you're my age or above, you know her as the Bionic Woman. She is dyslexic. She is going to share her story. She's actually a graduate of David Douglas High School. And we're really, really excited to bring her to town. If you're 1 year younger than me, and I know this because I've asked our teaching staff, you don't know who she is, but you should Google her because she's kind of a big deal. And so I'll leave those up at the front as well. Again, there's a QR code. I'd love to have you if anyone's interested in hearing more about our story. But again, I kept it in 5 minutes. And I know you have lots of business, so enjoy the evening. Oh, lastly, this is Ryan. Ryan, give a wave. Ryan's one of our dads. I'm actually going to run home and put my 4-year-old to bed.
I have no idea.
Ryan's
Somehow
going
my
to be the one to
computer
turn
knew
off
it,
the
though.
lights at the end of the night. So if anything comes up, Ryan's the man in the know. Thank you so much.
Thank you both, and thank you, Ryan, for volunteering your time. We really appreciate it. The purpose of the Palisades Neighborhood Association, you'll also hear us refer to it as P&A, the acronym P&A, is to serve as a citizen advisory board that works to enhance neighborhood livability and provides input to elected officials on critical matters affecting our neighborhood. We're an advocacy group, we're not a regulatory group. So people sometimes come to us, neighbors come to us asking us to do this, that, or the other. We can't do that. But we can help you find the answers and or get help collectively or direct you to the right people at the city. Anyone who lives, works, or owns property in the Palisades Neighborhood Association is automatically part of our association. There are no dues, no fees, and we pretty much function just from 100% volunteer work. So let me just jump to meeting protocols, and then I'll turn it over to the next. The Zoom participants are muted throughout the meeting, and they're encouraged to use chat on Zoom so that we have Chris Durkee, who is manning the computer and will speak your comment out loud at the appropriate time. And the in-person audience, I'm doing something a little different. I want more audience participation, so at the end of every presentation, we'll have a Q&A. So we do want to hear from you, whatever comment you have. We're just asking everybody to limit it to 2 minutes so that everybody can speak, and if you go over that, we'll ask you that. Maybe we can continue the conversation at a later time. And now I'd like to introduce Joe. Joe Avila is, and his wife Kiki have developed a wonderful new website, and if we can put up the slide there, I'd like to introduce Joe so that he can tell you all about it. Front and center, dude. You are now famous.
Thank you, Frederick. By the way, this person does a tremendous amount of work for us as a community, so she gets a lot of thanks and recognition. I'm sure you give it up for Frederick. So here's this. We have a screen. Can you hear me still? Okay. We have a screenshot of the website, as you'll see it tomorrow morning when you get up. This was Kiki and I, mostly Kiki, spent a lot of time working on this over the last several months, and we hope you love it. And if you don't, you can let us know too. It's okay. So, of course, with anything brand new, there might be some little things that don't quite work we might have missed. So we really tried to do a good job of kind of fishing out all the bugs, but nothing's ever going to be perfect. So just let us know. There's a contact page. You can just let us know, or you can just yell at Frederick. So that looks good. All right. Thank you very much. Enjoy.
I like it. Thank you, honey. A woman who chooses her words carefully. Like that. Next is Chuck Buck, our wonderful volunteer, and
Area 2 representative who is going to come up here and get the approval for the meeting minutes from our last meeting. Welcome, Chuck.
Thank you, Frederick. One thing about Frederick, you never know what you're going to expect, but it's fantastic. Thank you. So yeah, I'm going to take minutes, so please speak very slowly. Like the mother who sent a letter to her son in the military, and she said, "Son, I know you read slowly, so I wrote very slowly." Bad joke, but I think it's funny. So yeah, you don't have to do that slow. But in any case, so yeah, I'm going to do the minutes, and I'm the area rep for area 2, and we're really on the ball PNA. That's all I can tell you. I know that Joe's already said so, but Frederick runs a tight ship. It's amazing. It's very cool. Thank you. We do. Okay. Can I have somebody that approves last month's meeting? Second? Second. Okay.
To approve last month's meeting minutes.
Yeah. Meeting minutes.
I second it.
Seconded. Perfect. And now I'll have to write down who said that.
Jenny Cherry.
Jenny, I know.
And Roger Gray.
Roger Gray. Okay, thank you, Roger. All those in favor?
Aye. Against?
I don't want to see against, but okay. I know where you live. Who's against?
Oh.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, voting and Palisades leadership team intros. Our online voting ends at 10 p.m. tonight, and you can get there through the website. And then hopefully most of you saw that we have paper voting ballots, and those will be available until the end of tonight's meeting. And then I'd like to introduce the leadership team. Mario, are you good to go to the next slide?
This is the next
No.
slide.
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. We have the treasurer's report. John Thies has what, no report? You don't want to stand up here? Is that what you're doing? Oh, he's on his way. Sorry. I was almost out of turn here. John Thies, area 1 rep, and our treasurer.
So are you taking tonight's minutes? Or? So I can give you my. Okay, as treasurer, I'll let you know our current balance in our Home Street bank account is $584.62. We've had multiple reimbursements that have been made since last month to cover costs that are incurred to cover PNA social events, but primarily been for yard signs and related equipment. So the expenses are covered by the current NEP grant of $500. And I'm in the process right now of putting together the paperwork to get reimbursed by the city. And we'll be submitting that to the city in a couple of weeks. So our account balance should be increased by about $500 by next month. So the city's in the middle of a NEP update process for the 24-25 cycles. So it's kind of in question right now as far as submitting new things. But upon completion of that, we'll be developing the necessary administrative materials such as the applications, reimbursement requests, and that sort of stuff. So in the next month or so, we will be compiling a list of potential items to consider for our next NEP grant. So I had said this in the past relating to our old website. I'm not sure this is the same now, but PNA residents are encouraged to donate to the neighborhood association. For information about projected expenses on how to donate, refer to the Donate tab on the Palisades board. You still have a Donate tab? Okay, cool. So we're good to go. That's the end of
Thank you, John.
my spiel.
I have a question. Are those blue
Let me give you
blocks?
this. we won't be able to hear you through the Zoom.
Thank you. Are those blue blocks on the visual, are those year or the amounts or what do they represent?
It's annual, as far as I know.
Oops, what happened? Well, the one on the right, because I made the graph, so I can speak to that. The one on the right are the, for this term, the anticipated expenses, and the one on the left is the money we've raised so far. And that's hiding.
And the cycle runs from,
The cycle runs from,
July 1st to June 30th.
well, that's for the NEP. This is for the Palisades neighborhood term, which is, ends tonight with the voting and the election of the new board. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Now, if we can get the leadership team picture up, I want to introduce, you have met John, who's Area 1, and our treasurer, Area 2, Chuck Buck. Area 3 is myself. Area 4, Jenny, who's back there waving. Jenny Cherry Tree is our wonderful Area 4 rep. And Area 5 is Annie Miller, who is also a tree permit coordinator, and she couldn't be with us today. Area 6 is Brooke Subert. She also couldn't be here today. Area 7, where's Area 7? There is Roger Gray. Stand up, Roger. Roger Gray, and he'll be speaking later. Area 8, Nancy Sage. There she is. Yeah, you need to stand up. Otherwise, I'll put everybody's picture up really large next time. Area 9, Rob Heap, right? No, Rob Heap is 11. 9 is Meg Wilkinson for Area 9. And all of these areas I'm talking about, we have 13 areas in the Palisades Neighborhood Association, and you can see where they are divided up on the maps, one at the front door and one on the back wall. Area 10 is Nancy Griffin, and she also couldn't be here tonight. Area 11 is Rob Heath, right there, and also our traffic committee coordinator extraordinaire. Area 12 is Harold Rust here. Okay, I think he might be here via Zoom, and then Area 13 is open. If anybody in Area 13 knows somebody there, we'd love to get representation there. Any questions? Yes.
You can remind everyone that lives in Palisades can vote, they should vote tonight, so make sure that they all vote.
What was that, Chris?
Hi, everyone who lives in Palisades can and should vote tonight. Thanks.
Or volunteer. Okay, so committee reports. First up is Mr. Rick Ivers, who has been our emergency preparedness representative and committee coordinator for many, many years. He's a wealth of information, but would love to have help for the emergency prep committee. So I'll let him take it away.
Okay, so for emergency prep, we're going to do a Zoom call on April 21st, which is a Sunday at 2 o'clock. Anybody can jump in on that? There we go. Okay. Yeah. If anybody can jump in on Zoom call. If you want to learn about emergency preparedness, if you want to get involved, if you have some history, you have been doing emergency prep for a while and want to share that, this would be a great time. It's going to be basically a brainstorming session. We're going to try to get the emergency prep stuff back up and running in Palisades, make it more active. I'll go over some of the brief history of our neighborhood-wide emergency preparedness efforts. I'll give you an overview of some of the resources available on the PrepLO website. There's a lot of physical resources that we have acquired over the years for our neighborhood, and I'll go over those items, and that would be including these radios. Also, what CERT is, which is the Community Emergency Response Team that the City of Lake Oswego operates, and anybody can sign up and join that and go through the training. So I'll talk over that stuff during that brainstorming session, again, April 21st at 2 p.m. You can look on the TNA website, there's a link, and then you can sign up for the call there. So, okay, the second thing is there's a new program. Okay, I'll just read this because it just came out too. A game-changing new program from the state of Oregon's Department of Emergency Management is about to roll out on June 2024. It's called Be 2 Weeks Ready, and it's a community-censored, activity-based program consisting of 8 one-hour classes, each focused on a different topic of preparedness. Of the 8 topics, one is preparing to prepare, your emergency plan, a food plan, a water plan, waste and hygiene, shelter, first aid, and emergency management. These are preparations that would help kinds of emergencies people have experienced recently, as well as in the earthquake scenario. So it would be much easier to get their attention than it would be for a far-off, theoretical, and terrifying disaster. This program concentrates on helping individuals make preparations in their own homes and lives, but can easily be extended into the neighborhoods where we live. If we have people from many different populations taking these classes, they will recognize the value of organizing within their neighborhoods because that is built into the curriculum. And because they're learning to check on neighbors instinctively during the emergencies recently. That will certainly boost the efforts of neighborhood associations to organize their residents. So it's a brand new program, and as it starts to roll out in June, then we want to incorporate it within the emergency preparedness part of the Palisades Neighborhood Association. Okay, so I want to give an update on the city's NEP grants. So it stands for Neighborhood Enhancement Program grants. This program was established many years ago by the City of Lake Oswego to help neighborhoods and HOAs and nonprofits to get specific things that normal city budgeting processes can't handle. And for example, that would be like a park bench located on school district property. Art projects, neighborhood signs, emergency supplies, etc. The city budgeted $60,000 for last year's grant cycle. This year, the NEP grant program is going through a reorganization and will be actively split into 3 separate categories. One of the categories is going to be neighborhood outreach. They're putting $30,000 towards this, which will include all the mailings that all the neighborhood associations do. They're looking at getting a citywide Zoom license that can be shared amongst all the neighborhood associations, sharing AV equipment, and that program is supposed to launch July 1st. The second portion is an emergency supply cash program. This funds emergency supply caches for neighborhoods that have built an emergency response plan, which has been approved by the city. So that's something that all neighborhoods are going to need to do, is develop this response plan, how they're going to utilize these supplies, where people are going to meet, how to use communications, two-way radios, using the amateur radio group, repeaters on Cook's Butte. It's all part of that program. If that part will, the emergency supply cache program will launch on January 1st of 2025. And then the last group is special projects, and this is open to other groups other than neighborhood associations or HOAs, and that one will launch in July of 2025. There's a working group of citizens actively building this program, and they're working through the details of Rev 3 currently. So there's still a lot of details to be worked out, but we'll share that when it's finished. Lastly is the FRS radio net within the Palisades neighborhood. That's these green FRS radios. So regarding the radio use, Mark Thornburg will hold a radio net at 6:30 p.m. on April 28th, which will be the last Sunday of this month. He'll be at the outdoor classroom behind Lake Ridge High School. So anybody that hasn't got radios or haven't been part of the net before that wants to learn about it, they can come and talk with Mark, and if we have extra radios, then we can pass them out at that time. So as far as the radios go, the P&A has loaned out all 18 sets of the Motorola T600s. We also have a group of people that want to participate in the radio program, but we don't have enough radios. But yeah, when we do radio drills, we only have like 5 people or 6 people. So if anybody has radios, then they can't use those, or they don't have time, or for whatever reason, if they want to turn those back into Mark, then we can pass those off to others that want to participate. So, anyhow, there might be some other changes to the radio net program, but Mark will send, he's not here tonight, but he will send an email out to everybody with the updates and reminder of the meeting coming up. So that's it for me. Is there any questions about the programs?
Can you bring him the?
Just a question on how are we doing with the caches? So I believe we have 2 currently in P&A, and are we getting more in the next coming year, or what's the outlook for when we'll be receiving more in P&A?
So the cash program is the second phase of that UP grant. So those, we won't be able to apply for another cache until January of 2025. Okay. So right now there is 2 caches of supplies, and what those are is they're like a job site toolbox. So they're big metal boxes that have padlocks on them. And we've got supplies from the city, which include like hard hats and safety vests, work gloves. There's extra sets of these 2-way radios in there and batteries. There's a 10 by 10 pop-up tent for like a little command center, keep you out of the weather. It's not a lot of stuff, not for a big neighborhood, but it's a few things to help out. Most of these things, especially if you've gone through the CERT training through the city, you've got most of those items as part of that class, which includes a helmet and vest and things like that. So these are just extra things. And again, 2 caches right now, and they're covering about half of our Palisades neighborhood. We can get 2 more caches of supplies in the next coming year, 2 years, something like that. So, any other questions?
Thank you, Rick. Really appreciate that. Emergency preparedness is one of the hot topics in our neighborhood.
This is working, right?
So I don't need this other one here. Okay. All right. Next up is Roger Gray, and he's been working very hard on advocating for our 4,000 1,450 homes that is in Palisades. He's been working on reliability and safety concerns for our neighborhood and our homes. And he really stepped up after the winter storm, and he'll give us an update.
Good evening. Thank you, Frederick. If you were here in mid-January, you probably had an 80-hour outage, and that's what I'm talking about. And if you were here in 2021, we had about a 5-day outage. And so after an event which had not only electric reliability, but we had road closures, and a lot of people had to leave their homes, a lot of hardship. The things that Rick talked about, neighborhoods that are prepared to deal with it, do better in those kinds of events. I really want to re-emphasize what Rick was talking about, the importance of that. After the January event, I asked Frederick, we really got to do something as a neighborhood. This level of outage that we were experiencing in this neighborhood is not acceptable. And she called a special meeting together, and Rick was on that. Chris talked about generators. Ken talked about things that we can do in our neighborhood. It was an ad hoc, very quick meeting. And one of the ideas that came out of that was to write to Portland General Electric, our utility provider. But also, I work in the utility industry, and I think it's also important to write to the city because they are part of the issue, and also the Oregon Public Utilities Commission, who regulates Portland General Electric. So Frederick agreed to sponsor a letter, and it was co-authored by Frederick, but also 3 of the homeowners associations in Palisades joined in. It's a very, very powerful message. It went to Portland General, it went to the city, and it went to the Oregon Public Utilities Commission. We said we've got to have better reliability, we expect solutions. We also have to have better information and communication. For several days, we had no information at all, and they've got incorrect information. Those are both unacceptable. And the close of the letter, as irritating as these winter outages are, they are very irritating and they're unacceptable. I'm actually more concerned about summer. And we also emphasize this. If you've heard about fires in California, Lahaina last year, we've had fires here in Oregon on the west side of the Cascades, which were unheard of. We're definitely seeing the effects of climate change. And that was the concern we also raised in the letter, saying, are we going to be subject to a PSPS, or what's called a public safety power shutoff, which are occurring now in the West, almost in all states in the West. If you saw Joe and Kiki's website, that picture of all those lovely trees, which we all moved here because we like the trees, those trees don't play well with electric power lines, and they can cause, that's the source of fires. And so we also raised this issue. We want to know what Portland General Electric is going to do about that, whether we could be subject to a PSPS, and we want solutions. We've already heard from the city manager. City Manager Bennett wrote to Frederick and the homeowners associations, and I communicated with the city manager. We're going to walk a couple of areas which are probably the more prone, worst areas that are being causing these outages. And we hope to have solutions. They're not going to be fast, but again, we hope to have improvements for the winter reliability, but we also hope to mitigate the summer risk, which is the fire risk, very similar to what we saw in Lahaina or Paradise, California. I'm not kidding about that. That is a really big issue. My safety tip for the evening is, if you see a red flag warning, that's high wind, high temperature, and low humidity. Think about 2 years ago in June, we had 117 degrees. Park your car out of your garage, facing the street. Do not leave your car in the garage in those kinds of events, because when power fails, you'll be trying to get your car out of the garage. And there's ways you have to pull the red tab on your opener to open it manually, but it's much better to have your car out of the garage. If there's time for questions, Frederick, I'd be happy to.
Yes. Any questions?
All right, thank you very much. Oh.
My question is, you heard back from the city manager, Martha Bennett. What was her response?
She's already met with Portland General. The city actually initiated a contact with Portland General. The mayor and the city manager, they've met with the CEO of Portland General. No solutions yet, but this is the start of the process. I think it's very important that the neighborhood associations be part of it as well, because I don't want to have simple solutions. This is a very difficult problem. So the good news is the message was delivered by the city as well as the neighborhood association. And so I think the whole city, experienced major problems. So we're at the beginning of the process, and I was really pleased with the city manager's interaction with us so far.
I just have a comment. Those with Teslas have trouble with the electricity.
So,
Wait, get the microphone. We need the microphone. We need to speak into the microphone.
the comment was about Teslas, anybody with an electric vehicle and keeping your car charged. And so, Chris talked about, for people that have rely on electricity for things like transportation, Chris talked about generators, and generators are a possible solution for you there. The more we depend on electricity, the more we're going to have backup sources.
With the ice storm, the trees down, I've been noticing a lot of 45-degree trees along South Shore, on or near or overhanging the road and power lines. And I just can't believe that those things are not red tagged and cut down, removed. It doesn't take a lot of root structure to hold those things up, especially when you get ice and wind on it. Can you give us maybe an update on what we can do about that?
I promise I didn't plant that question. The 45-degree trees have been mentioned. The big outage that we had was actually a very large Doug fir going over, so we're seeing other kinds of problems. In my opinion, those trees, they're an unacceptable risk to power lines as well as to public right-of-ways like roads. And no one wants to remove trees unnecessarily, but when we have trees that are going to go over, we're going to experience these kinds of problems. And I think that what we have to have, this is where we have to have the Oregon Public Utilities Commission, because they regulate Oregon General, they follow national codes, and as someone that has worked in this industry being responsible for tree trimming, I look at those things like you do. You have an intuitive reaction to it. I have 41 years of experience, and my reaction is exactly the same as yours. This is just problems waiting to happen.
I just received last week a letter from PGE about possible trimming of trees apparently in my yard. But I'm just wondering, do they coordinate that with the city or the neighborhood associations at all? Or do you guys get information about? I don't know who else received that notice.
I think it might be the last question, and we can put more in. I'll save it at the end of the meeting too if we need. A great question. I think I received that same letter. The simple answer is, as Frederick said, we're not a regulatory, we're an advocacy group. That's why we write the letter. And I'll put the copy of the letter. I brought a couple of extras, and they're on the website as well. I forgot to mention that. So the Portland General and their contractors, and I think they're using Asplin orange trucks. They will coordinate with the city if it's in the public right of way. They'll coordinate with homeowners if it's on your property, and they'll coordinate with the park districts and things like that. They'll coordinate with the appropriate owners. The neighborhood association does not have a formal involvement, and then they have to follow both Oregon Public Utilities Commission as well as national requirements for this. So if you have trees on your property, they'll be talking to you. If they're dealing with rights of way, they'll be dealing with the city, usually Public Works.
Thank you, Roger. If anybody has other questions for Roger on this topic, we should be running okay on time. We can save it to the end. I do want to give everybody a voice that wants to. Next on the agenda is traffic and safety in our neighborhood, and Rob Heath is going to bring us up to date on this other hot topic that affects us all.
Thank you, Frederick. So yes, I'm actually serving as the interim traffic person that was in the P&A who was previously serving that is fine. But I'd just like to make a comment to definitely encourage what was being asked earlier on for those who are considering serving either at the city level as a board or advisory member. Please consider that. I think the more voices we have from P&A and different city boards, the better representation we get from P&A. So I highly encourage that, as well as highly encourage folks here to consider serving on the P&A Association and predicting maybe even becoming the traffic committee. So But I want to give a few updates tonight, and the one that we've been hearing a lot about has been kind of the overall impacts of the high school in the area around Lake Ridge. And so there's been a lot of discussion. I'd like to thank a couple of members here who have been actively participating. So Phil Connors, Meg Wilkinson, Annie Miller, and I've heard from some others tonight too about great ideas they have. And I just think that is really helpful. There's a lot of smart people we have in PNA, and getting all these different voices heard is fantastic, and being able to relay that back to the city. So what we've been doing is we reached out, we tried to establish a liaison with city staff who could start helping us hear the concerns, and then more importantly, try to come up with a plan after we study it on what are some potential solutions. And then that would work kind of in the standard process that we all use for finding solutions and making changes in the city. So we go to a public review, like a session, take inputs from folks, and then hopefully there'll be some good improvements coming. And so some people look at this and say, well, that's a way off. What's happening today? Well, one of the things that we actually started helping on was to raise awareness of enforcement. So, there's two kind of sets to the problem here. There's one is looking at what type of code changes can be made to address some of the concerns, or what other changes can be made to address the concerns long term. But then from a safety perspective, what's occurring today? How are we doing on enforcement? And so I'd just like to mention that there's been a strong partnership between the Lake Ridge School Resource Officer, the city traffic engineer, and the assistant city manager, and helping take concerns and then try to address those into more enforcement actions being taken. And so one of the comments we got, I don't know if residents noticed like today, but we got some comments that there was heavy traffic or heavy ticketing that was occurring on Overlook, on I believe Treetop, and on Meadowlark, where some of the parking concerns, safety issues are most prevalent. So I think that was a result of the neighborhood association really reaching out and having these open conversations, frequent conversations with the city on enforcement issues. So that's helping, and we really appreciate all the neighbors, people who are participating, as well as the efforts of city staff who's also helping out here. I did want to, in the frequent communications that we're having with the school and with the police department, the school resource officer actually wrote back and said, you'd really like to get the message out, and I'm just going to read exactly what he said. He said, if your calls for services have not been resolved, please contact the non-emergency today or when the issue is occurring. He says, I've passed this information to our community service officers and patrol officers to conduct extra patrols when they are available. So the message is getting out. I'll just read, I think if you Google it or if you look at the city site, you can see the non-emergency number. It's 503-635-0238. But they're really encouraging everybody. If you see people parked in the wrong direction, if you see people blocking crosswalks, people, parked on the sidewalk itself, people blocking, handicapped access things. I mean, they really want those issues to be reported. And, they're really committed, as we saw today, to kind of listening to our voices in the neighborhood and trying to step up enforcement. So thanks to everybody who's been involved in that. And then long-term next steps, again, we're working with the school district. Bill Connors is heavily involved, and we're looking at, really coming up with a good analysis of first, what are all the issues and challenges that are facing PNA, and then, probably going off and looking at a study to be conducted. That the outcome of that will be, potential solutions, and then again, we'll go through that public vetting process to see what the solutions are and weigh in on board neighborhood input. So I think we're making good progress, and thanks for everybody who's participating. Secondly, I'd just like to mention there was another announcement that came through the city staff that there's actually upcoming Clackamas County Stafford Road improvements that are being started. And the message was that there could be potential impacts to the Stephen Meadows area. So I'll just read a brief paragraph here to give an overview of what's going on. So they said, we're reaching out to let you know that City Council will be hearing an important presentation from Clackamas County staff about planned improvements to Stafford Road and Child Road next week at their April 16th City Council meeting. The meeting starts at 3 p.m. at City Hall, 380 A Avenue. You can view the meeting in person on local TV broadcasts through TVC-TV and on the city's YouTube channel. The meeting materials have not been posted, but can be found on the same website by tomorrow afternoon. So this was on 2 days ago. It should be there. And particularly just what the goals of the project are. They're realigning the intersection of Johnson Road to eliminate the intersection skew angle and reduce the steep grades. They're adding a southbound left turn lane at Johnson Road, adding a roundabout at Childs Road, and adding bike lanes along Stafford Road. So again, people looking for more information about this or have interest in that, I think there's a lot of concerns about the safety in that area, but you can reach out more to the P&A board members here or the city directly. But again, that meeting is going to be on April 16th at 3 p.m. at City Hall. So encourage everybody to take a look at that, since that's an area that people have particular concerns about. One maybe final comment about what else is being done working with the city. On that particular area of Treetop Drive, you may see currently there's engineers out surveying and trying to improve kind of the safety of the community, the people that are walking in that area, and they're working on providing a path. So that work is currently in progress and should be completed here in the near future. I think 12 months or less, kind of my understanding. But that's going on in the neighborhood too. So thank you, and I'll take any questions. Sure.
Hi, I'm Bill Connors, and I have one thing that I would like to just add to Rob's presentation. Thanks, Rob. This is especially for the folks who are in the Cloverleaf, Banyan, Coalwood area. We have challenged some language on land use 06-0069, and we've had one meeting, and we have a tentative date of May the 7th for a follow-up meeting. So I would encourage anybody that lives in that area to please try to attend. See Meg or myself and give us your email, and we'll get you on a kind of an email tree to prepare for that next meeting.
Can you summarize what changes that you're making to that code?
Well, the question is what changes are being made to the code, and that's a great question, and we're kind of approaching it kind of surgically, and we've challenged the code, and that challenge, the first step was that the school has not been meeting with the neighborhood on a regular basis as specified in that code. But quite frankly, most of the elements of that land use codes are in violation. So we're kind of taking it one phase at a time, and they have come to the table to talk with us, which is very encouraging. So, and the conversation we had did get into student parking, trash, all those things that are traffic safety, of course, is primary, speeding, reckless driving. So we had some very candid and open conversation. So, and really even for folks outside of that, that area, I think the more folks that show up at the meeting to show our concern with that.
Can I just add a little bit of context? You're talking Bill, you're talking about when Lakers put in the stadium, right? Or stadium?
Technically, it's correct.
The practice field. So when they put in their practice field, they obtained a conditional use permit from the city that said you have to be kind to your neighbors with all these rules. And they haven't upheld all those rules. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly correct.
Okay, thank you.
The other thing, this is more of an ask for me as a neighbor. Rob, you talked about the Pathways project that is currently started on a couple of streets. I live on treetops, so I'm pretty familiar with it. My ask is that I think this is a great opportunity for the Palisades Neighborhood Association to get involved on the front end. And while pathways are going to be a huge boost to public safety in our neighborhoods, I think that our ask should be that they also come with some parking restrictions for the high school parking, and that's my ask to the P&A board to get involved on the front end and push for some additional parking regulations for the high school to handle the lack of capacity to park in the high school.
I'm going to give you the mic 1 second.
Who decides the school district,
Decides.
the parking issues with the high school, for instance, parking on the street? Who decides?
The city.
So it's the city's responsibility.
However, the city will very quickly, the city will very quickly respond that the high school is kind of its own set of measures. They can do whatever they want with the parking on their campus.
But not on the street.
But not on the street.
Right.
So who's controlling the street?
The city.
And so by having that, there's a legal, by requiring schools, how's that going to change?
Well, the land use, some of the language of the land use talks about when that field is being used, there are some parking restrictions that are in place. So, but the land use really is not primarily about student parking. But by
1 second, it's like the call time here. If you want to conclude here in the next 20 seconds, fine. But I'd like to get we're going to have meetings on this, as Bill was saying. There's meetings that are frequently scheduled, and we'll make sure those are announced, and we encourage everybody to come. Any final comments?
I'll chat with that. I don't want to get into trouble with Frederick. I just don't want to go there.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much, Rob. This is an important topic, and Bill has done so much to spearhead this, and everybody else to take. We have another question here about traffic.
Well, yeah, I want to hear you.
So my name is Maria Harvey. I live on Banyan, so I have to deal with the students on a daily basis. And thank you, they did come and ticket 2 cars in front of my house that I'm not even allowed to park at. However, it's just really weird how they keep forgetting about the easement from the elementary school up to our street, that, you know, maybe it doesn't, you know, now that the elementary school is being used, they can't use it during school days, but they can definitely have parking down on game days, and it's a safe way for kids to get around the neighborhood without walking on our street, because if you are walking on our street during school days, there's parking on both sides of the street. So, you know, when it comes to, and a lot of people love to use our area for walking. I walk my dog, I meet a lot of people who are dog walkers. It'd be really nice to have that sidewalk. And for some reason, year after year after year, there's an easement there, and funding is never put aside for it.
Thank you. Those are excellent comments. And if there's any more, please, we have a comment section on our website, and more of this information, I'm sure Bill will pass it on to me so I can post it on the website so everybody can attend these meetings and lend their support. Next up is, actually, I'm going to go out of turn a little bit here. We're going to take our break now, And then when we come back, we'll do the parks and land use and the last couple of items. So please enjoy the food. We've got sandwiches that need to be eaten, and we've got cookies and information on the tables and mingling with each other. And we'll be back here in about 15 minutes or so. Thank you.
Please put the intermission one on.
We have, in Palisades, we have Receipt Park that's being developed right now. It's the one that has the skate park, and then there's LORAC, the Lake Oswego Recreation and Aquatic Center, and I think I mentioned Cooks View, and also Green Tree Park. And I'm going to say just a couple words here about Green Tree Park, because our wonderful neighbor, Gail Perrick, just, I think she had to leave. I don't see her. She writes, I'm happy to report that after my phone calls, meaning herself, Green Tree Park has finally gotten a city-approved sign for the park. It has some park amenities and a lot of park don'ts. You can see the sign at Green Tree Road, entrance to the park. I can also report that some of the neighbors have worked with the city to get fresh sand and bark dust, which makes it so much better for the kids and parents.
Thank you, Frederick. My name is Nancy Sage. I'm the coordinator with the City for Parks and Rec, so I relay with the Parks and Rec department as far as what's going on, what's new. And so I'm here to share with you what I've learned from Parks and Rec. Receipt Park is the one at the roundabout, Stafford and Rosemont, and they're working on a skate park there right now. They poured concrete, they just finished pouring concrete. They'll be tinting it like a light beige or something like that. And the concrete will be done, but the park will not be open until they do other things like landscaping, parking lot, safety features. So the message from Parks and Rec to all of us is, even though it looks done, don't send your kids with their skateboards. It's not ready for you yet. They expect it'll be open around the end of June, but we need to wait for the grand opening before any kids attempt to use that. So that is phase one, is the skate park. Phase two is something that P&A asked for 2 years ago, when Receipt was just an idea of what it could be. They engaged P&A, and we knew it would be, a big field. And that's basically, I'm oversimplifying, but hey, it's going to be a park, it's going to have a play field on it. And we said, well, wait. P&A families want more than that. We want family-friendly activities there. We'd like a picnic shelter, maybe some playground equipment for children. Let's make it a real park, not just an athletic field. And they said, no money. That was 2 years ago. Well, they heard us, and it took a while, but they knocked on our door again and said, hey, we think we can meet your need. We can get some grant funding. We need your help, P&A, with a support letter. If you could write a support letter about the playground equipment, the picnic shelter, etc., then we'll ask for the grant. So we did that about a month ago, Frederick? Yes. So that's been submitted. We'll know in September if we get that money, and if we do, then that's phase two for Receipt Park. And we asked for a bigger picnic area with shelter and so on, and they're looking to fulfill that. So that's good news. Phase three is the athletic field, and there's no funding for the athletic field at Receipt yet. That's TBD. They don't have it in the budget, but that would be phase three for Receipt. That is all. Any questions about Receipt Park? Yes?
So what happens to the multi-sport field that they were going to play with artificial turf, the lights, all that stuff? This is phase two of the playground. So now phase three.
Phase three is the field with lights that are supposed to be dim lights that are very directed towards the field. And they're on timers so that they turn off by a certain time of the day, so they're not on at night.
And when do they plan on having phase three start installing that?
There's no timing because there's no money. So it's TBD. And so when that becomes active and when the money's there, P&A will be engaged again, talking about the details. Yeah.
Do you know how many parking?
Hold on just a second, let me get you, is it Joni?
Just curious if you know how many parking spaces they have allowed for this, center?
I don't recall. 70 is what Al says. He's probably right. I don't recall. Okay. One more piece of news from Parks and Rec. They want to have a community gathering with anyone interested in Parks and Rec in the future, what the plans are. They call it their Parks and Rec 2040 plan, kind of a strategic plan. The director of Parks and Rec, his name is Ivan Anderholm. He is holding a meeting for P&A on May 1st from 5, we'll have this on our website, 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. at Hazelia. Meet by the restrooms and playground, and it's an open discussion. He'll share a little bit about what Parks and Rec conducted a survey a couple months ago, soliciting from the community, what do you want from your Parks Department? They have that feedback, and now they have a plan drafted, but it's subject to change, and he wants to hear from you. So we'll have that on the website. It's May 1st, 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. at Hazelia. So, list of topics includes updates on the LORAC, the public golf course, Receipt Park, recreation, and programming, park rules, and generally where we're going from here in the future. All right, anything else? All right, I'll introduce Chris Durkee, land use.
Thanks, Nancy. I'm going to ask Ken to come up and join me, but before he starts, let me give you a little bit of background. I'm Chris Durkee, and Meg Wilkinson and I make up the Land Use Committee, which means we get involved in all land use issues within Palisades, variances, rezoning, and Ken's project is the C3 Church on Stafford, which is perhaps the largest private sector development in Palisades in many, many years. So Ken's going to present that, but I'll give you a little bit of background. Ken is a developer. He's also a neighbor who lives on Green Tree near the pool. So he knows whatever he does, he can't run away. Ken plans a multi-unit housing development on the C3 Church site. It's about 6 acres. Ken has voluntarily organized at least 5 public meetings that I know of, and I know he's had several meetings one-on-one with neighbors and the HOA Atherton and Belleterre HOA to get input. So I think we salute Ken's transparency and effort to engage the public and get public input on this project. P&A's intent is that we A, maximize public input on the project, and B, help steer it in as positive a direction as we can to the benefit of the neighborhood. Recognizing that Ken owns the land as a property owner, he does have the right to develop it. And we're not a regulatory agency, but we can help steer it. And Ken has been very open to neighbor suggestions, to my suggestions. This is an evolving design, and so I'm really excited to see this moving along, and with Ken's open support. You know, we tried, as Land Use Committee, we tried earlier, years ago, to meet with other developers that do the knockdown and mansion construction around town, and they basically told us to go fly a kite in less polite words. So it's great that Ken is with us. So before Ken, one other thing that we are involved in with land use, there's a land use approval for a renovation to the Sunderlee House on Phantom Bluff Court. It's a historic house, very prominent. As you know, Sunderlee is probably the preeminent architect in town, or was. And so this is a precious a resource, precious asset in Palisades. And the Historic Resources Advisory Board recommended against approval on the design that they came up with, and Meg and I supported the advisory board's recommendations for the same reasons that they objected. So that's one of the things that we do, but here's Ken.
Hey, thank you, Chris. My name is Ken, as Chris mentioned. On the screen here, Mario's got our project website, so we'll just kind of have that roll through. But first and foremost, as a neighbor, and I've lived in Oregon my whole life, grew up in Southwest Portland. My mom still lives over there by Alpenrose and Wilson High School, but we moved to Lake Oswego in '98 and lived in different spots around the lake. But I've been on Green Tree, we call it, since 2014, so almost 10 years. Lots of chickens in our life. Got a few new ones now, so those that walk by. Who was talking about traffic? Rob? I think I'm a violator. I park backwards on the sidewalk, trailers, pods, so we're trying to clean that up a little bit. So I'm not as bad as I used to be, but I apologize if you live near me. But Chris is right, you know where I live, which brings up the point of when we went under contract to buy this property up here, I kind of beat out a bunch of other folks, the kite flying people, because of what we said we'd go through to try to bring a more thoughtful development, albeit I'm a developer, a more thoughtful development to the community. And so rather than, and I'm going to paint a quick picture of a traditional developer says, most of them are, already scripted with what they do. They multifamily or hotel or commercial or luxury homes. We're a broad developer in the sense that we come into a situation and go, well, what should be developed here and what is the best development for this area or this site? And I don't do that just here because I live here. I live this with all my projects. So in doing that, it kind of, I think the first day we had 4 or 5 voluntary meetings up at the church, and we literally had, I point to the whiteboard over here, no idea of what we should put there, and we started the process. So we're in the middle of, I'll call it mid-discussion. We've heard from the community, some of you, I see familiar faces. We are going to have more meetings. Probably our next one will be mid-May. So be patient with me, but be patient with our design team because we're kind of mid-discussion. We've heard from you over a period of 3 or 4 months and meetings. We've taken that information in. We've got a few different designs. I have another concept here I brought tonight to share. So I'm going to be back there. You guys can come ask me questions about alternatives to the most pressing issue was maybe the 4-story for sale condominium building on staff. Like, well, could we do that, but could we do it somewhere else on the site? And so we have a couple ideas on how to do that. But, my family, I talk to my wife and my sons, we work as a family, and the message I wanted to send is that we're honored, we're privileged, we're humbled by this responsibility to do something right. Chris pointed out that we're also a developer, and by right, we want to do something here. And if we don't do something thoughtful, someone else will do something. So at our next meeting, we're going to point out what others could have done and what we're not doing, trying to point to the fact that we're doing less than bad. And I know that's an awful way to say it, but somebody's going to do something up there, and right now, that's myself and my team. So I just wanted to open up for questions. We start our city formal process next week. We go in for a pre-application conference. We've been meeting with the city, met with the mayor, lots of different opinions out there, so we'll see, ultimately what gets built there. And we're talking about a 2 or 3 year timeline. So any questions, and then I'm going to be available back here too. Rob.
Can you say what the current status of the property is? Is it actually been purchased or is it under contract?
Yeah, good question. The question is, what's the status of the property now? So C3 Church still owns it. I'm in contract to purchase it. We're basically fulfilling certain milestones, so we call it due diligence. So I don't want to just buy raw land and not overpay for it and not build something. I definitely am not building giant or whatever luxury homes. A few of them, I'm not doing that. So there's an outside chance we wouldn't close on it, but we already have a lot of money that we've paid them and a lot of money at risk in developing it. So I'm probably 99% sure we're going to close this year. So by the end of the year, we'll own it outright. Yes, good question, though. But we have control to do what we need to do. I just can't put banners up, which is kind of weird. So, okay, any other quick questions?
What does the city want you to do?
Well, I don't know, how many opinions are down there? 20, 30, 40? Yeah, that's about as many opinions. I don't actually know that. I think there's planning commission, no, there's staff, there's planning commission, and city council. So we're gonna navigate through that. They have needs assessment or analysis that we're trying to address. There's also middle housing, which brings more affordable homes or attainable in our community. So we're trying to address those things. Chris, good question.
As Ken mentioned, there's a pre-app meeting next week, which Meg and I will be attending. It's a formal process where a developer meets with the planning department staff, and they give him a rundown. Here are all the requirements to proceed with your job. Here are the variances you need. You aren't going to get this one. You might get this one. This one's easy, whatever. They go through the whole list to give him a heads up on what he's in for. So Meg and I will attend, and I'll issue kind of summary notes from that meeting that we can post on the website or in the newsletter or whatever, so that people can see what's going on.
No, that's great. Thank you very much. And I'll be over there, so if anybody has any other questions. I'm also the second one, which I'm not very good at, so.
Can I grab that for them? Yeah. Great. Okay. Meg Wilkinson is next, and
Meg Wilkinson is going to talk to us about electing city councilors and also the upcoming deadline.
So did you know in November that we have an election coming up? Not just for president, we also have the mayor, and also 3 city council members are open. Well, all 3 of them are filled by incumbents, and I don't know who all is running or not. It has been yet to be decided. But sitting out there, there could be someone that's really interested in serving on city council. It'll be great to have more support or more representation from the Palisades area. So starting June 1st, they'll have a publication out for when you can start the nomination process, and you have until about August 23rd until you can actually sign up to be either city councilor or mayor. If you're not interested in city council or serving as mayor, there's also 10 boards or commissions that you can serve on. They are the 50 plus, the budget committee, development review, diversity, equity, and inclusion, historic resources advisory board, the library, parks and recs, planning commission, sustainability, and transportation. There's going to be a meeting on April 18th from 5 to 6. We can learn about more information on any one of those. But I highly encourage you to at least think about the boards and commissions, go to the meeting, talk to some of the people in the area that have served. I think Ross was on the planning commission, and I don't know if there's been anyone else here that's been on a board or commission, but I encourage you all to serve. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Meg. That is an important thing to do to make a difference in our immediate neighborhood, is to be on one of those boards and commissions. Next is Ann Mulligan, who is going to tell us about the events committee. And she helped put all of this on with Kiki.
Yeah, hi everyone, thank you so much for joining. My name is Ann Mulligan, I live in the area of Greece. I do work on the events committee, or I co-chair it with Kiki, but unfortunately I'm gonna have to be stepping away. It's in about 4 weeks. I will be inundated with newborn stuff. But the goal of the events committee was to really do some more social interaction within the community. Freddie told me a long time ago there used to be a September picnic, which we were hoping to bring back, and maybe like an ice cream social in June. but my baby's due in May, so I'm not gonna have the bandwidth to put that on. So I'm opening it up for anybody who enjoys organizing events and would like to take that on to engage the community. The space is available, and we did some headway that we've made, potential locations. It turns out being the neighborhood association, you can utilize spaces in the school district for free, so we could potentially use the Palisades Elementary School, because that has a really cute little playground and it's bigger. You can use those things, and there is some grant money available to use to help put on the events. So we've made some progress, but haven't quite been able to put our feet on the ground and actually have a first event. So I'm sorry I won't be able to see that through, but if anybody is interested, the opportunity is available. And that's it for me.
Annie and Kiki downplay it, but they put a lot of work into these events, and it's getting easier and easier as they have a system going, and it'd be nice to have family events again. Let's see, sustainability, Ms. Kiki, who wears a lot of hats and does an awful lot.
Which is probably why we're looking for help with the events. So, okay, mind my phone, because I've got my list on here. Okay, so I run the sustainability. I'm also on the materials management committee with LOSN, which is the Lake Oswego Sustainability Network. So there's a lot of moving parts here in that partnership. Hopefully we're going to bring even more sustainability things to the Palisades neighborhood because of that connection, so we're really excited about that. Just to go through some of the things that I have back at the table there. One is just like a little giveaway. It is a dishwasher tablet. It's zero waste, it's sustainable, it is non-toxic. Try them out if you like them. There's information on where to buy them. There's also a brand new store that just opened up just down the way, about 5 minutes on Boonesbury, right before you hit the 5. It's called Melior. They've been open for a month. I know everyone likes to support local businesses. They're fantastic. They have everything sustainable, zero waste, great little shop. So there's 10% off back there at the table as well. Go and visit them. Great way to be sustainable, and another great way to be sustainable is to support small businesses and local. And then also in the compost bin, it is clean back there, don't worry, is Republic Services information on how to properly compost. So what you can put in your greens bin. I know some people have separate compost bins in their yard. You can also throw your food scraps into your greens bin. So lots of information on here of what you can throw in there, what you can't, but grab one of these little flyers, good information. Let me go down my list. So again, like I said, I collaborate with LOSN, and we're hoping to create a collaboration with Republic Services to bring more education and information here to the Palisades and all of Lake Oswego, hopefully, but the Palisades is kind of going to be like the starting point. So look for more events and more education with sustainability happening here within our neighborhood. How to dispose materials, recycling, compost, and waste. Also a little bit of updated information. You can now recycle old batteries in your recycle bins. So just put in I think it's, you put it in a plastic bag, like a Ziploc bag, and put it in your glass bin. So they're now taking and accepting those, and you can also reduce your waste bin size. A lot of people don't know this information with Republic Services, but they have, I think, 3 different waste bin sizes, and the smaller and smaller you get, the smaller and smaller your bill with Republic Services gets. They also have something that they don't tell you, but you can schedule your waste bin pickup once a month. So they will pick up your recycle bin and your greens bin every single week like normal, but they'll give you one date throughout the whole month that they pick up your waste bin. That cuts down your bill like $30 a month. It's great. So you just call and get on their schedule, and you can save some money and also save the planet. You can also recycle hard recycled plastic at New Seasons, just on the corner here in Palisades, right outside. They have all these bins and hard recycled plastics like those dairy plastics, you know, the clamshell things, throw them into there. Bridwell, not really promoting Bridwell because they're technically not allowed here, but Amanda with our sustainability through Lake Oswego is not banning them because they are so fabulous. So if you know someone who has Bridwell or you have Bridwell, keep using that. The Lake Oswego Sustainability Fair is coming up on April 20th from 10 to 1 at Lake Ridge Middle School. They will have electric vehicles there for you to ride and drive. So the city's really trying to push electric vehicles. There was a little information about, you know, if a power outage happens, make sure your electric car is charged. And because the city is pushing electric vehicles so much, they're building up more and more support for electric vehicles that you can charge around the city. So don't be afraid of getting an electric car. They're fantastic. If a power outage happens, you will have a place to plug in and charge. We actually just got a grant for 3 EV buses, school buses, for the district. So that's fantastic news. Let's see, and my last thing is losm.org. If you need any more information of what the city is doing, and of course what we're bringing into the Palisades and what we're doing with them, go to that website. You can find more information. That's all I have. Any questions?
Thank you, Kiki. I know this is a passion of yours. It's a passion of mine too. Appreciate it.
You know, sustainability actually encompasses everything. Traffic, land use.
Stuff it now. Last but not least is Carrie Love, our amazing newsletter editor. And I'm so grateful to her. I've been doing it for 12 years, and she volunteered to take it on, and I can't tell you what an amazing job she's doing. She's, it's a bit of an undertaking, and she's doing a fabulous job. Carrie Love.
Okay, a piece of advice, if she asks you if you know how to use MailChimp, say no. So she asked me, and I was like, yeah, I know how to use MailChimp, and I'm in the Palisades neighborhood. Checkbox, checkbox. So my name is Carrie Love. I live in Area 5 in the neighborhood. My husband grew up here. I'm a Mainer, but I tell everybody that Oregon is the West Coast Maine. It's very similar. I have a 13-year-old, and I was looking to get involved in some sort of community organization, and I met Frederique and some of the other members, and everything that's happening around so quickly to Lake Oswego, it was a good way to give back. So I've offered to volunteer for the Palisades Neighborhood Association. So newsletter, I walk a dog all over Palisades, and I'm coming to meet your dogs. Because now there is a dog of the month in the newsletter, and I don't know if you read it last week or last month, but Obi-Wan Kenobi got quite the profile in the newsletter. So if you see me running after you with the camera, it's actually for your dog, okay? And if you do have a great dog, email me at newsletter@palisades.org, and I'll get in touch with you, and we can do a photo shoot, and be prepared to tell me all of the secrets about your dog so I can write a really funny article. And chickens may actually make, I talk to your chickens every day, so the chickens are cool. You told us their names, so now we talk to them. So anyway, newsletter, I get a lot of information from the website, but I am looking to do interesting things in the neighborhood, including some profiles maybe of our neighbors. So I'm gonna be working on it, and developing it as I go. Any questions about the newsletter or your dogs? Yes, Meg, hold on. You need the microphone.
So what about cat of the month?
Oh, I knew somebody was going to say something about the cat. Well, I do love cats too. So you might just have to talk me into it. I have one. Chicken. Well, yeah, I got the chickens already lined up. You guys, that's the only thing that's going to be in your newsletter. It's the animals of Palisades. Palisades. Any other questions? Okay, awesome. Feedback is welcomed. I'm open to suggestions. See you in the newsletter.
That was awesome, thank you. Wonderful addition, now it's gonna be taken over by chickens and cats and dogs. Anyways, at the very bottom of the newsletter, I added that a few months ago, and, you know, not all serious stuff, kind of some fun stuff. We only have a couple minutes left, but if there's any burning questions that somebody has not asked, this is the time to do it. Okay, well, I think we had some pretty good audience participation. Thank you, Chuck, for taking meeting notes. Uh-oh, Chris Durkee, always trouble. Hold on.
Well, I don't think we can end without thanking Frederick for putting this amazing team together, keeping this association going, and stepping up for another year.
Well, the Palisades Neighborhood Association has done quite a bit in the last few years, and couldn't have done it without all of the participation of so many neighbors and, you know, in small or in large. So thank you, and we'll see you next time.